At this time, 4:37 p.m. Central Daylight Time, I do hereby call the first Council of Ministers meeting, the Third Hetner Government, to order. This meeting has been called in accordance with Article 80, Paragraph 2 of the Constitution, and the roll will now be called to determine the members present. Starting. Prime Minister Hetner, present. Deputy Prime Minister Martin.
Present.
Present. Federal Minister of the Interior Martin is present as well. Federal Minister of Foreign Affairs Harms.
Present.
Present. Federal Minister of National Defense Carpentieri. Not present. Federal Minister of Economic and Social Affairs Asa Ward. Not present. But he has stated that he will be present for later in the meeting. If that appears, there is a quorum of the members, and we have sitting in the meeting the President of the Socialist Republic of Cotter, Menaceland. We will start with the first item on the agenda, the Prime Minister's report. The second item on the agenda, the Prime Minister's report / statement. The Prime Minister statement regarding the purpose of the meeting and his plans for the Republic. I will start my statement now. It will be very brief, just general things about the meeting. My fellow members of the Council of Ministers, as the Prime Minister and the head of the Third Hetner Government, I gladly called this meeting here today because I believe that it was a necessary action in order to actually affect some meaningful change in this country. As you all know, we've had a pretty long period of uninterrupted inactivity, and it has not led to as much innovation and as much growth as I would like. And I would say that is partly due to my inactivity as well. I've been quite busy recently, but I believe everyone else also, and everyone who has been active, I do commend them for that, but everyone else who hasn't, I would like to see more activity, especially within this government, so it can actually cause more things to get done. So the main reason why I've chosen to call this meeting today and convene the Council of Ministers for a voice meeting is because I want to hear, some of the plans that the federal ministers have, some of the things they'd like to see happen in this nation, and some ideas they have to actually get more things done. I do have a few of my own, and I'll outline those right now, especially within the Federal Ministry of the Interior. Within the Federal Ministry of the Interior, I would like to see some legislation sponsored from the Federal Ministry of the Interior and some more organization there regarding citizenship status, immigration, and the status of non-citizens. I'd also like to see more formal documents issued by the Federal Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I'd like to see just more formalized things coming out of the Federal Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I think, and we definitely can do that, and we can definitely get it done. It's going to be some long pieces of legislation. There will be a lot of long pieces of legislation governing this, but I think that is one of our most important things, just looking at the status of citizens, just the general organization of things in this republic, and the Federal Ministry of the Interior is the most important player in getting that done. Another thing with the Federal Ministry of Foreign Affairs I have plans for is currently we have the Foreign Mentorship Program. We have the Office of International Tourism and Public Affairs, and just the general activities of the Federal Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and been very successful recently. We've established some new treaties, and we've been able to get that done. But I think we can even go a bit further. We can establish more relations. We can establish pacts. We can mainly what we've tried to do for a long period is establish the General Iowan Union of Micronations, which would be sort of a supranational organization of local Iowan micronations, and that's something we've tried to start for the past few years, but we haven't really been able to do it. There's not that many active micronations in Iowa. We do know one close to us. Luckily, we have the Emperor here, Mr. Harms, but we do need to find more Iowan micronations, and more people would be willing to contribute to that. And then on the defense side of things, I would like to see more activity in the defense ministry, national defense. I would like to see the actual a law that organizes the department more and establishes a standing military and recruitment procedures as well. Not something we've had the need to do because most of our conflicts are settled through diplomacy, but I believe we might have to actually look into a formal military structure and stuff like that. Then economic and social affairs. I think we should look forward for establishing a Treasury Department or some sort of Treasury agency underneath there. We don't currently have any formal Treasury or any mechanism by which the government can collect revenue or keep its revenue. So I think that would be very necessary. We have no way to impose duties or collect taxes, and I think maybe establishing some sort of voluntary taxation of a sorts could be something we could look for in the future. But those are just my general plans for the future of these ministries. I think we can definitely see these happening in the near future if we all put in efforts. But the main thing we need to start doing is recruiting more people, more active people, more people who could be interested. So the efforts to do that can't just happen by one person alone. I can't affect that on my own. I need all of you to work together to try to invite more people people would be interested, and maybe see if we can, find some sort of poll that would make people want to contribute here more. Maybe some better incentive that would make people want to contribute to this nation further, because, maybe that could just be some monetary thing. We could work that out. Maybe it could be some internal thing. Maybe it could just be we could just find more people, see that people are active here and wanting to build a community, more people would be interested. So I think that's something we could look at as well. But I think that wraps up my sort of informal report / statement on my plans for this meeting and plans for the Republic. I will now yield my time and yield to the Deputy Prime Minister, Mr. Martin, for his statement, which is the third item on the agenda. If he would like to deliver a short statement / report, some similar things, his meetings and his plans for the Republic. But I now yield my time to the Deputy Prime Minister.
Thank you, Prime Minister. To fellow members of the Council, it is me, your Federal Minister of the Interior and Deputy Minister, Prime Minister. Personally, my agenda for my personal ministry is to, as mentioned, increase the system of citizenship and citizen or participant classification within the states. I feel like a very more formalized system can be established that would make us or make our nation as a whole much more professional and attractive to, as also mentioned, a prospective person willing to join the nation. That is something that I am also interested in pursuing deeply in the future. Massive recruiting drives and increasing the activity of the nation. As most of you know, micronations are essentially useless and boundless without activity. They are almost utterly pointless without activity. If people are not active, then of course the nation really means nothing. The government does not function as it should. So that is something that we should look into. I also urge every one of us to take it upon ourselves to increase our activity and devotion to this nation, as it is a very culture-rich and history-rich nation that is worth being considered upon. I would also deeply, deeply welcome ideas and other, as also mentioned, legislative pieces to the Assembly, which may enable us to make decisions to change our nation as we see fit, for the betterment, of course, of what I just said, for activity and citizenship and our overall image. But with that, thank you for your time. I yield the floor back to the speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Prime Minister Martin. Now that we've seen the Prime Minister's report/statement and the Deputy Prime Minister's report/statement will now be open to Federal Ministry reports/statements. Each Federal Minister will be allotted 5 minutes to present a report or deliver a statement regarding the activities of their Federal Ministry during the government and the Federal Minister's plans going forward. We'll start with the Federal Ministry of the Interior, and I will allot them. They will be allotted 5 minutes. I invite the Federal Minister of the Interior, Mr. Martin, once again to deliver further report/statement on the activities of his ministry and the plans going forward. It can be under 5 minutes, it can be, but as long as it is under 5 minutes, that is what we'd look for. So I will now yield back to the Federal Minister of the Interior, Mr. Martin.
Again, Prime Minister, Speaker, thank you. Again, council members, or as my ministry, I envision principally 3 main ideas that I want to bring or essentially work on or at least start for Cotter, Menaceland. Of course, that's the first one is a database for citizens to see legislation and have a legal library that's more formalized. Of course, I know we already have a legal library, although I think improving it and really creating a new library of publications and an archive would be of great importance to us. I feel like can make, also add on to these, this idea of this archive. I'm also thinking about making a citizenship petition, so citizens could propose ideas to the government. I am, of course, as I have mentioned in my past statement, I'm also mentioning or willing to look at new ways for citizens to register and view the nation. I feel like public image and graphical management of citizenship services would increase us, if that makes sense. What I'm trying to say is that I want citizens to be able to have an easier way to understand Cotter, Menaceland and access their services. I think the current system of just using Discord, which I'm only aware of, I'm not totally sure if we have a website, although that would also be something I'd be interested in looking in. But really mainly that, if we can put together some sort of system where that citizens can have a graphical interface to view all of the legislation, bills, have a way to propose bills, have a way to manage their citizenship. Also, for government officials to maintain provinces and maintain their citizens. I would also be interested in that. And of course, I am open to ideas for altering these. But thank you. I yield.
Okay, thank you, Federal Minister of the Interior, Mr. Martin. We will now call upon, for a 5-minute allotted speaking time, the Federal Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Harms.
Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister. As regards to the Federal Ministry of Foreign Affairs, not too much has happened on my end, but two significant things have happened. We have had a treaty that was signed and is in effect as of last week between Cotter, Menaceland and the sovereign state of Versmark. Very good to have them as our allies. And also, I have issued a statement. Granted, it is less formal than what is desired, and I do apologize for that. I have issued a statement in regards to the Baraka files, I believe they're called, and the actions of the individual in question. In my statement, I said all I needed to say. In short, something like that should never happen. It is a betrayal of personal and micronational rights. Everyone, including micronations, deserve the right to privacy, and no one should violate that willingly. Just disgusting action. And I would concur with the Minister of the Interior, and I have other things to say, but I will save that till around the end of the meeting. So that's all on my end. I yield my time.
Okay, thank you, Federal Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Martin. Since the Federal Minister of National Defense is not present, we'll now continue and move to the Federal Minister of Economic and Social Affairs, Mr. Ward.
I believe my ministry has been going steadily throughout the entirety of my time within the Economic and Social Affairs. I have not seen or been made aware of any problems or complications or anything that is necessarily something we should worry about. Any plans of mine for the Cotter government would revolve around supporting and helping other initiatives around boosting activity and hopefully keeping our community and even culture alive and well, such as I believe Martin's ideas of promoting. I definitely support that and would be willing to help with that. That is all I've got to say on my end. I'd like to waive the rest of my time.
Thank you very much, Federal Minister of Economic and Social Affairs, Mr. Ward, for the statements. Now that we have ended the Federal Ministry reports/statements, we'll now move forward to the fifth item on the agenda, the office, department, agency, and etc. reports/statements. Heads of federal sub-COM level agencies will be allotted 5 minutes to present a report or deliver a statement regarding the activities of their agency during this government agency and agency heads' plans going forward. The only agency we have here is the Director of the Office of International Tourism and Public Affairs, who is I. So I will deliver a report on the activities of the Office of International Tourism and Public Affairs. Distinguished members of the Council of Ministers, acting as the Director of the Office of International Tourism and Public Affairs, I'll have to say that our office has been of great success in further relaying information about the Socialist Republic of Cotter, Menaceland. Although we have not worked directly with Federal Minister Harms, we have been able to exercise our authority pretty well, and we have been able to establish at this time Instagram accounts, YouTube accounts, Reddit accounts, and other social media accounts, and we are looking towards establishing an X account, a TikTok account, and a Facebook account as well, which will all be acting in the official capacity as government accounts. As it stands now, our most successful account is our Instagram, and the most active account with 45 followers. And that has brought a lot of attention to the Socialist Republic of Cotter, Menaceland, and looking at the demographics, a lot of our posts have gotten a pretty significant amount of views and people looking towards them, and we've gotten quite a few followers in the past a week or so, and people who continue to be interested in this account. So I think this is a great opportunity through the Office of International Tourism and Public Affairs, where we can, put out these efforts and these statements showing foreign audiences what Cotter Menaceland's like, and to have people hopefully become citizens. Another one of our things we look towards is establishing a federal government website. This would be an official website, but it would be a temporary one. We'd like to eventually in the future have the Federal Ministry of the Interior take over the responsibilities of a government website and managing that. But it would be one where citizens can access some services and certain information about the nation. But we'd be looking towards that, and we'd be fully willing to work with the Federal Ministry of the Interior in establishing a website like that. But just for the future, we want to get Cotter Menaceland's name out there more. We want to maybe do some campaigns to get more traction to Cotter Menaceland. And I think we are already at a good point right now, but we can go even further with that with our social media. But with that, I do yield my time back. Seeing as that was the only Office Department agency report/statement, we'll now move forward with the open discussion portion. Members of the Council of Ministers will now have the privilege of speaking on further pertinent matters and requesting inquiries from other members. Any members wishing to speak at this time or ask a point of inquiry before another member may do so now, they may request formally.
Point of inquiry, Prime Minister.
The Federal Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Harms, has a point of inquiry. For whom is the point of inquiry?
Point of inquiry is for the Prime Minister.
Okay. The Federal Minister of Foreign Affairs may at this time say his point of inquiry.
Thank you, Prime Minister. My question to you is that I was under the impression that there were two deputy prime ministers and one of them is no longer here. So will there be a second deputy prime minister, or will there be only one, which will be Deputy Martin, until the next election? And is there precedent, I should ask, of appointing only one or two deputy prime ministers? I yield.
Thank you very much, Mr. Federal Minister Harps. To answer the first part of your question, yes, there was once another deputy prime minister, and his name was Mr. Pike. Max Pike resigned, and as Federal Minister of Foreign Affairs and as a deputy prime minister, and we filled that vacancy, and you filled that vacancy. But right now, I chose just to not continue with appointing a new deputy prime minister. I saw no necessary need, and while there is precedent in appointing a vacant deputy prime minister seat, and appointing a vacancy for any ministers, so there is legal backing for that. I have just chosen not to nominate any new deputy prime minister, and if someone, there is technically, legally, I would say it is allowed for any member of the federal parliament to propose a deputy prime minister nominee to be filled, to fill that technical vacancy. We've seen no need to do so far, and I think having Deputy Prime Minister Martin here is perfectly requisite for now. But in the future, we usually have just had one deputy prime minister, but this government has actually been special, and I appointed 2 deputy prime ministers at its start. But I believe we'll continue with one deputy prime minister at this time. But if you have any further inquiries for me, Mr. Harms, you may state them, but if not, will you yield your time?
I would also like to make a statement. I believe it's a point of personal privilege. Am I allowed to do that, Prime Minister?
Yes, you may, Mr. Harms.
Thank you, Prime Minister. After hearing the comments of yourself, the Deputy Prime Minister, and the Minister of Economics, I wholeheartedly agree with most of what they say. I believe there should be a website. There needs to be an increase of activity. There's more we could do. And I would like to say that in regards to myself as Minister of Foreign Affairs, I do not believe I am fit for this particular ministry, but that does not mean I'm going to walk out. Absolutely not. I will serve the rest of this term until the next election, and hopefully I will be appointed to the Ministry of the Interior because I do have ideas in regards to the website. I have ideas for the federal ministry. And in regards to activity, I also struggle with this. In regards to the province of Berlberg, I am governor over there, and activity is very sporadic. I am doing my best to cope with it. I'm trying to deal with it. And also in regards to my capacity as the Emperor of New Prussia, I do have citizens who are a part of it, but they're mostly a part of it, a name only. I'm not placing blame on them. If they wish to be active, not active, it's whatever. I'm basically a one-man show, and it's whatever. You do what you can with what you got. That's how all micronations do it. But yeah, hopefully, and I will be running for the federal parliament. Hopefully I get elected to that, and yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you. I yield my time.
Thank you very much, Federal Minister Harms, for your statements. Any other members wishing to speak or raise a point of inquiry?
Could I speak briefly?
Yes, the President is hereby invited to deliver a statement.
Thank you. I just wanted to say that the Prime Minister and I have discussed about introducing some more legislation, particularly around the criminal code for Cotter, Menaceland, given our very underdeveloped criminal legal system in particular, but our legal system in general. On the point about foreign affairs and foreign relations, I think although I haven't particularly had much to do with it, I tend to just sign the treaties that are put before me. I think that there's been quite good progress with a few treaties throughout this last term. However, when it comes to the federal parliament's activity, I think it definitely has some improving to do. I wouldn't say the legislative template is difficult to use, but when I've been writing legislation before, I found it's not the most accessible system. That might help. I find that sometimes in Cotter, Menaceland, a lot of proposals come from the current Prime Minister, Third Hetner, mostly, rather than the wider public or the wider membership of the federal parliament. But yeah, I think especially the foreign relations this term have been very impressive. But yeah, I yield.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President, for your statements. Are any further members wishing to speak or raise a point of inquiry?
Prime Minister, I'd like to raise a point of order.
The Federal Minister of the Interior, Deputy Prime Minister, Mr. Martin raises a point of order. May Mr. Martin state the point of order and how it relates to the proceedings of this meeting?
My point of order is to both the council, regarding the transfer of my office to the Honorable August Harms. Per se, the Federal Minister of the Interior. I understand that he was interested in the pursuance of that office, and if he would like to take it, I would like to resign.
Does the member raise a point of order or just a statement, point of personal privilege? I believe the member raises a point of personal privilege. Does the Federal Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Harms, have any response to the statement raised, or would the Federal Minister of the Interior invite the Federal Minister of Foreign Affairs to respond to his statements?
Mr. Prime Minister, I honestly will not be accepting the Ministry of the Interior at this time. I would like to be the Minister of the Interior at the at the end of the next election. But I'll stick with what I have for now. And yeah, I respectfully decline.
Okay, thank you, Federal Minister Harms. I don't know what happened to the Federal Minister of the Interior. Do any further members wish to speak or raise a point of inquiry at this time? Seeing none. We will now move forward with my verbal directives and requests for the federal ministers. Due to the matters stated at this meeting and things I would like to see done in the federal ministries over the course of the remainder of this government. Although I would like the Federal Minister of the Interior to be present again so he can hear this. I'm unsure why he left. Since the Federal Minister of the Interior is not here, I will start with my verbal directives. For the Federal Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Harms. Mr. Harms, I direct that by the end of this government, the Federal Minister of the Federal Ministry of Foreign Affairs to ensure the proper administration of the foreign mentorship program in accordance with the law. And I also would like to see the Federal Ministry of Foreign Affairs try to establish further relations with either some of our current allies or possibly establish new allies with the Socialist Republic of Cotter, Menaceland, especially as we approach our attendance of a delegation at the Microcon 2027 next year. My next directive will be delivered to the Federal Ministry of Economic and Social Affairs. Federal Minister of Economic and Social Affairs, Mr. Ward, do direct that the Federal Ministry of Economic and Social Affairs do try to establish efforts through federal ministerial orders in establishing some sort of financial system and network that could possibly some sort of financial network or some sort of basis for the future, financial basis, and then more social affairs things for individuals who are worried about that pursuant to the Council of Ministers Act 2025. I would also like the Federal Minister of the Interior, so I'm unsure. Yeah, and yes, just seeing some sort of provisional treasury for the Republic. I'm unsure what happened to the Federal Minister of the Interior, if something happened. But for the Federal Ministry of National Defense, the directives will be for the Federal Minister to continue in trying to establish a standing military and the recruitment procedure thereof. And for the Federal Minister of the Interior, who I will do shortly, but in the time that I try to get a hold of the Federal Minister of the Interior, I will be in recess, but I will call the meeting back after that. Hopefully it's short.
I'd like to propose that if the Federal Minister doesn't return shortly, that you maybe read out your directives and then write to him with the directives that you have for him.
Yeah, we'll go forward with that. My directives for the Federal Ministry of the Interior are as follows. I direct that the Federal Ministry of the Interior continues with drafting legislation and federal ministerial orders and regulations of the Council of Ministers related to the formalization of our civil service and citizenship documents and the acquisition of citizenship and the status of non-citizens and citizens and certain relating features. My other directive comes from proposing legislation codifying in law the federal police service, and my final directive is I would like to see a piece of legislation that formally organizes all federal territories, federally administered territories, in the manner as seen fit. With that, we will continue to our 8th item, which is the adjournment. We will quickly play the national anthem. Socialist Republic of Cotter, Menaceland. Go on my watch stream and listen in. We'll start now. I do now hereby adjourn the first meeting of the Council of Ministers of the Third Hetner Government. All members are hereby dismissed. Thank you all for coming.